continued Malaysia-Thailand relations resulted in huge progress. Hundreds, possibly thousands, feared dead after Cyclone Chido. Hello and good afternoon, and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for joining us. I'm Otto Othman and you're watching World Today. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim highlighted that the continued bilateral relations between Malaysia and Thailand have resulted in huge progress in developments and projects involving both countries. Now, he noted that the collaboration will be further enhanced will help resolve many issues such as water management and flood mitigation measures.
We also agreed to support efforts to bolster intra-ASEAN trade and joint investments that both Ministers of Investments and Trade has agreed. We have the target of $30 billion by 2027. We can be seen to be very ambitious, but looking at the huge economic potential in Thailand and also in Malaysia, there's some things that we need to work.
The Premier also said Malaysia and Thailand have agreed to enhance complementary between the two countries, particularly in the rubber and halal industries. Earlier, Petong Tan, who is on a 2-day official visit to Malaysia, was accorded an official welcoming ceremony at Perdana Putra complex this morning. Upon arrival, Petong Tan, who arrived yesterday for her maiden visit to Malaysia after assuming office in August, was received by Datuk Seri Anwar. The national anthems of both countries were played before she inspected a guard of honor mounted by 3 officers and 102 members of the 1st Battalion of the Royal Ranger Regiment ceremonial. Petong Tan signed the guest book before proceeding to a meeting with Datuk Seri Anwar under the framework of the Malaysia-Thailand annual consultation. The meeting was aimed at strengthening bilateral relations, exploring new areas of cooperation and enhancing regional collaboration. Petong Tan's visit underscores the long-standing relationship and strong ties between Malaysia and Thailand as close neighbours and partners in ASEAN. Several hundred people and possibly even thousands may have been killed when the most powerful cyclone in nearly a century hit the French Indian Ocean archipelago of Mayotte on Sunday. The French Interior Ministry said it will be difficult to account for all victims and a figure could not be determined at this stage. Cyclone Chido hit Mayotte overnight. Météo France, the official French meteorological administration, said with winds of more than 200 kilometers per hour, damaging houses, government buildings and a hospital. The forecaster added that it was the strongest storm in more than 90 years to hit the islands. Aerial footage shared by the French Gendarmerie showed the wreckage hundreds of makeshift houses strewn across the hills of one of Mayotte's islands, which have been a focal point for illegal immigration from nearby Comoros. According to the French Interior Ministry, over 100,000 undocumented migrants live in Mayotte. Authorities said it was difficult to ascertain the precise death toll after the cyclone, which also raised concerns about access to food, water and sanitation. The disaster is the first challenge faced by Prime Minister François Bayrou days after he was named by President Emmanuel Macron following the collapse of the previous government. The Israeli government approved on Sunday a plan to increase the population of the annexed Golan Heights, while insisting it had no intention of confronting Syria after seizing a UN-monitored buffer zone. As opposition forces swept Syrian President Bashar al-Assad out of power last week, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had ordered troops to seize the demilitarized zone between the two countries' forces on the Golan Heights. On Sunday, his office said his government approved a plan to double the population on the Israeli-held Golan Heights. The Israeli government also unanimously approved an $11 million plan for the demographic development of the Golan. Israel has occupied most of the Golan Heights, a strategic plateau, since 1967 and annexed that area in 1981, in a move recognized only by the United States. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia and Qatar swiftly denounced the Israeli move. Riyadh's foreign ministry expressed condemnation and denunciation of the plan in a statement, calling it part of the continued sabotage of opportunities to restore security and stability in Syria. Doha said the Israeli declaration was a new episode in a series of Israeli aggressions on Syrian territories and a blatant violation of international law. On another note, the Syrian leader, whose group led the offensive that toppled Bashar al-Assad, met with United Nations envoy Geir Pedersen, who was visiting Damascus. The Hayat Tahrir al-Sham group in a statement said its leader, Ahmed al-Shara, discussed with Pedersen the changes that have occurred on the political scene, which make it necessary to update a 2015 United Nations Security Council resolution to suit the new reality. UN Security Council Resolution 2254 of 2015 set out a roadmap for a political settlement in Syria. It further said Shara had emphasized the need to focus on Syrian territorial unity, reconstruction, and achieving economic development. He also raised the importance of providing a safe environment for the return of refugees and providing economic and political support for the agenda. Earlier, Pedersen urged a political process that is inclusive of all Syrians. He noted that the process obviously needs to be led by the Syrians themselves, with the help and assistance from the rest of the world. Meanwhile, Israeli strikes across the Palestinian territory have killed at least 40 people, including several children, an Al Jazeera TV cameraman, and 3 rescuers. Qatar-based news channel Al Jazeera said its cameraman Ahmed Al-Lawh was killed in an Israeli bombardment that targeted Nusrat refugee camp in the central Gaza Strip. Civil defense spokesman Mahmoud Basal confirmed that Lawh was killed in the strike that targeted the civil defense site near Nusrat camp, also killing 3 members of the rescue agency. Lawh is the 5th Al Jazeera journalist to be killed since the war in Gaza began, and the network's office in the territory has been bombed. Basal said that an Israeli strike on a school used as shelter by displaced Palestinians in southern Gaza's main city also killed at least 12 people, including a number of children. Another strike on a house in Shujaya, east of Gaza City, killed at least 6 people. Basal also reported more fatalities in a strike on a house in central Gaza City and another that hit a tent sheltering dozens of displaced people in Deir al-Balah in central Gaza. Israel's offensive has killed at least 44,976 people in Gaza, a majority of them civilians. Russia said its forces had captured villages in 2 key frontline areas of eastern Ukraine as they advanced towards the supply hub of Pokrovsk and the industrial town of Kurakov. The Defense Ministry said in a daily briefing that its troops had captured the village of Vesely Gai south of Kurakov and the village of Pushkin south of Pokrovsk, both in the Donetsk region. Russia has been grinding forward for months in the Donetsk region, and its troops have recently accelerated their advance. According to an analyst of data from the U.S. Institute for the Study of War, they captured more Ukrainian territory in November than in any month since March 2022. Ukraine's Kortitsia group of troops reported ongoing exhausting clashes on the outskirts of Kurakov and in the town itself, as well as further north in the heavily battered hilltop town of Chasiv Yar. The group of troops said the situation is complex and its troops are currently taking measures to improve the tactical situation. Greece will almost double its defense spending after Parliament approved the 2025 state budget with a roll call vote, while traditionally regarded as a vote of confidence in the government. With 159 out of a total of 299 votes cast, the state budget for the fiscal year 2025 was ratified, while the defense expenditure was approved by a larger majority. Spending for the Defence Ministry will rise to 6.1 billion euros from 3.6 billion euros due to the increase in equipment deliveries next year. The Defence Ministry said that the spending is essential because of the challenges of the country faces. Majority opposition parties had said before the vote that they would approve the increased defence spending. Hailing the backing of opposition groups, Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis said Greece today is charting its own roadmap in terms of stability and growth in an international environment of instability. Mitsotakis drew a parallel with the difficulties the governments of big countries such as France and Germany are now facing in seeking majority support for their own budgets amid political or economic turmoil. Greece spends around 3% of its annual economic output of defence, higher than most EU states. Coming up, UK officially joins Asia-Pacific Trade Bloc CPTPP. Five members of the Australian Bali Nine drug ring have returned from Indonesia after 19 years in jail following diplomatic efforts between the two countries this month to strike a repatriation deal. The men who flew home on Sunday were among 9 people arrested in 2005, trying to smuggle more than 8 kilograms of heroin out of the Indonesian resort island of Bali. 2 ringleaders, Andrew Chan and Muran Sukumaran, were executed in 2015, prompting Australia to recall its ambassador in protest. The only woman in the group was released from prison in 2018, and a male member died of cancer the same year. Negotiations over the repatriation of the men, an issue which had strained relations between the two countries, reportedly picked up after Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto met Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese on the sidelines of the APEC summit in Peru last month. Indonesia's Senior Minister for Legal Affairs, Yusril Izzah Mahendra, this month met Australian Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke in Jakarta and handed over a draft proposal for the return of the 5 prisoners. The terms of the draft included the 5 being banned from returning to Indonesia, regulations on the legal basis for the transfer, and a requirement that Australia respect the decision of the Indonesian court. A man who turned himself in saying he was responsible for 5 murders in northern France had no criminal record. The 22-year-old suspect was taken into custody after surrendering at a police station in Gevelde, just outside the Channel port city of Dunkirk. Dunkirk's chief prosecutor Charlotte Couet said the suspect is unknown to the police service and judicial authorities. The charge of murder combined with other crimes and possession of restricted firearms, several of which were found in the suspect's car, carries a maximum sentence of life in jail. Prosecutor Couet said many inquiries are underway, especially to clarify the reasons that led the suspect to commit the crimes. All 5 murders were committed within less than 2 hours in the Dunkirk area. In the first incident, a 29-year-old man was killed with several gunshots outside of his house in Wormhout, a village just south of the city. Then, 2 security guards aged 33 and 37 were killed as they patrolled an industrial zone adjacent to the port in Lune Pelage, just west of Dunkirk. Minutes later, still on the outskirts of Lune Pelage, 2 final victims believed to be Iranians, aged 19 and 30, were shot dead. Local police and the prefecture said the men were living in a local camp for migrants. The United Kingdom has officially joined the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership CPTPP, becoming the first European nation to join the Asia-Pacific Trade Bloc. According to the Department for Business and Trade, the 12-country landmark trade agreement is expected to boost the British economy by £2 billion annually in the long term. The department noted in its website that the UK's accession to CPTPP is a cornerstone of the government's plan for change, which aims to deliver economic growth and increase household incomes. The plan is projected to raise household wages by £1 billion annually, while benefiting all regions of the country. British Business and Trade Secretary Jonathan Reynolds said agreements like this boost trade and create opportunities for UK companies abroad, supporting jobs, raising wages and driving investment across the country. CEO of HSBC UK, Ian Stewart, meanwhile underscored the significance of the trade bloc, stating that since the announcement of the UK's accession in July last year, there has been an increase in payments between CPTPP markets and the UK. Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger will have a 6-month grace period after their scheduled exit from West Africa's main political and economic group next month, during which the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS bloc, will try to persuade them to stay. The summit of ECOWAS on Sunday was seen as a chance to address the impending withdrawal of the three countries on 29th January, a year after they jointly announced they would leave in a reversal of decades of regional integration. ECOWAS has so far failed in its goal to push them to reconsider, while the three countries in the insurgency-torn central Sahel region have set up their own alliance, sought ever closer alignment in defense and other areas, and mooted abandoning the West African Currency Union. Commission President Omar Touré said at the end of the summit that while 29 January remains the official withdrawal date, the effective date for their departure has been extended to 29th July, a transition period during which mediators from the bloc will seek to bring the three member countries back to ECOWAS without prejudice.
The authority directs the Council of Ministers to convene an extraordinary session during the second quarter of 2025 to consider and adopt both separation modalities and the contingency plan covering political and economic relations between ECOWAS and the Republic of Niger, the Republic of Mali, and Burkina Faso.
Russia has mounted a rescue effort after 2 oil tankers were wrecked in rough seas off Crimea and one broke apart, killing at least 1 sailor and causing an oil spill. Russian news agency reported that the tankers transporting thousands of tons of fuel oil were both damaged in a storm in the Kerch Strait between Crimea and the southern Russia's Krasnodar region. Reports on crew numbers varied, with the Emergency Situations Ministry putting them at 13 and 14. Dramatic videos posted online show the stern of one of the ships broken off and floating vertically in the water. Federal Shipping Agency Rosmoreshloft said 2 tugboats and 2 helicopters were sent to the tankers, adding that measures are being taken to eliminate the oil spill. A key oil refinery in western Libya has suspended operations after armed clashes erupted, causing fires in several storage units. Libya's National Oil Corporation declares a force majeure because several Zawiya refinery storage tanks sustained significant damage from gunfire that led to serious fires. Videos posted on social media showed several burning oil tanks at the refinery in Zawiya, some 45 kilometers west of the capital, Tripoli. It is the only refinery supplying the local market with fuel products. The National Oil Corporation said that despite the clashes continuing, emergency personnel were able to bring the fires and gas leaks under control and limit the spread of the danger. News sites in Libya reported 1 person dead and 10 wounded in the clashes, though there was no official confirmation of the toll. The Zawiya refinery, built in 1974, is Libya's second largest, with a refining capacity of more than 120,000 barrels per day. Zawiya city is the 3rd largest in Libya's Tripolitania region after the capital and Misrata. It has seen fierce clashes between armed factions. Guardiola takes the blame as City's nightmare run continues. The National Women's Junior Hockey squad qualified for the 2025 Women's Hockey Junior World Cup in Santiago, Chile on merit for the very first time. The Malaysian Hockey Confederation said the team manager, Dato' Muhammad Sayuti Abdul Samad, expressed his satisfaction over the squad's success and said that they would plan a series of tours abroad to prepare for Chile next year. Dato' Muhammad Sayuti said the team would also have the opportunity to play in the local league next year to gain exposure. Malaysia's qualification came courtesy of their 6-0 trashing of Thailand in the 5th-6th place decider of the 2024 Women's Hockey Junior Asia Cup in Muscat, Oman yesterday, during which striker Nur Shamin Azurin Muhammad Badusha stood out with a personal hat-trick of field goals in the 2nd, 9th and 19th minute, putting her team in a comfortable lead. But her teammates did not take things easy as striker Azmira Mia Sofia Azari extended their lead in the 30th minute field goal, followed by a goal from a penalty corner by Tibatashini James in the 47th minute. Azmira then crowned the victory with her second personal goal of the match, a field goal just 7 minutes before the match ended. National mixed doubles pair Cheng Tanji Toh Wei can hold their heads up high after going down fighting 18-21, 21-14, 17-21 to China's Zheng Ziwei Huang Yaqiong in the title showdown of the 2024 Badminton World Federation BWF World Tour Finals in Hangzhou, China yesterday. Tang Ji Yiwei got off to a slow start in the first game, but slowly and surely managed to fight back to level the score at 10-10. However, the Malaysians made a series of errors at the front court to allow the Chinese pair to romp home 21-18. Undaunted, the Malaysians stepped up a gear in the second game to go 11-8 ahead before wrapping up at 21-14 to force a rubber game. The decider proved to be a thriller as both pairs fought tooth and nail. Unfortunately for Tang Ji Yiwei, the few mistakes they made proved costly, leaving the China pair to win 21-17. The Malaysian pair deserve praise for showing no fear against the 2024 Paris Olympic gold medalist, stretching the Chinese pair to a rubber game before succumbing after a fierce 75-minute battle at the Hangzhou Olympic Gymnasium. As runners-up, Tang Ji Yiwei pocketed $100,000, while champions Ziwei Yaqiong took home $210,000. Meanwhile, there was no comeback for Malaysia's comeback kings in the men's doubles final of the WTF last night. Go Zifei Nur Izzuddin Rumsani lost 21-17, 17-21, 21-11 to Denmark's world number 3, Kim Astrup Anders Skrarup Rasmussen in 65 minutes. It was a double blow for Malaysia as earlier in the day, mixed doubles Tang Ji Yiwei failed to upset Olympic champions Ziwei Yaqiong of China. Zifei Izzuddin had won the Japan, China and Arctic Opens on the World Tour this season by staging late fightbacks. They also pulled off a Houdini act against Indonesia's world number 4, Fajar Alfian Rian Ardianto, by saving 6 match points in the semi-finals. Yesterday, when Zifei Izzuddin won the second game against Astrup Rasmussen, Malaysian fans were anticipating another epic fight back, but the Danes halted the Malaysian surge early in the third game. Independent pair, Zifei Izzuddin earned $253,588 from 8 tournaments on the World Tour since August before arriving in Hangzhou. They earned another $100,000 by finishing runners-up in the WTF. Professional men's singles shuttler Zii Jia is confirmed to have suffered a right ankle ligament injury. The injury forced the world number 8 to withdraw from his final Group A match against China's Li Shifeng in the 2024 BWF World Tour Finals on Friday. A statement from his team said the extent of the injury is manageable. It added that the team's priority is to get Zii Jia back to full health and peak physical condition before he returns to the court. Thus, Zii Jia's training program and tournament plan for the upcoming season will be based on close examination of the team and medical advice. The Paris Olympic Games bronze medalist was leading 15-11 in the second game against Xifeng when he had to retire, with the injury believed to have occurred when the score was 13-5. Zii Jia, who had taken the first game 22-20, was not allowed immediate treatment by the tournament officials before the second game was eventually stopped, and he was taken off the court in a wheelchair. According to the new BWF rules, players are not allowed medical treatment during the game and must wait until the break. The BWF rules also state that all results are nullified if a player concedes a walkover. Zii Jia had won his two earlier Group A matches, defeating Taiwan's Chao Tien-chen 21-13, 21-15, and Denmark's world number 2 Anders Antonsen 21-14, 21-19. Manchester United poured on the misery for flagging Premier League champions Manchester City as late goals by Bruno Fernandes and Amad Diallo snatched an unlikely 2-1 away victory from the jaws of defeat early this morning. Ruben Amorim's first Manchester derby looked like ending in a third successive league defeat after Josko Gvardiol's header put City ahead, but Ivory Coast youngster Diallo tuned the game on its head in stunning fashion. Diallo was fouled by City's Matthias Nenus after latching on to a dreadful back pass by the same player, with Fernandes stroking home the penalty in the 88th minute. City had hardly got over that shock when seconds later it became the Diallo derby, as he sent the visiting fans into delirium with a superb finish from the tightest of angles. What was initially a worrying slump in form by champion City has now snowballed into a full-on nightmare before Christmas for Pep Guardiola's side, as they have long lost 8 of their last 11 games in all competitions, winning 1. They stay 5th in the table with 27 points from 16 games, 9 points behind leaders Liverpool, having played a game more. United still remain in the bottom half with 22 points. In another match, buoyant Chelsea moved within 2 points of leaders Liverpool as goals from Marc Cucurella and Nicholas Jackson earned them a 2-1 victory over neighbours Brentford. It was their 5th Premier League win in a row. Chelsea pushed Brentford back from the start with 15 attempts on goal in the first half, but it was not until the 43rd minute that Cucurella raced into the area and divided athletically to head Noni Maduake's cross past goalkeeper Mark Flecken. It was the Spain fullback's first Premier League goal for Chelsea. 10 minutes from the end, Jackson squeezed the ball inside the near post for his 9th Premier League goal of the season after latching on to a pass from Enzo Fernandez. Jackson's goal gave Chelsea a much-needed cushion after Brentford came out fighting in a breathless second half, shifting swiftly from last-ditch defending to dangerous breaks down the pitch. Well, that concludes today's edition of World Today. In our top story, continued Malaysia-Thailand relations resulted in huge progress. Till then, I'm Otto Othman from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. Thanks for watching.